Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to my presentation. My name is Jinyoung Ko, and I'm a graduate program director for art education and assistant professor in the Department of Art and Design, Art History, and Art Education at Towson University in Maryland. I'm going to briefly share about my research and my studies regarding the topic of D&I, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion workshop with art activities. COVID-19 pandemic has required faculty and students to adapt to an unprecedented challenge. Many academic research journals suggest developing special issues centered on these current crises. The pandemic, racial inequalities, and social emotional challenges engulfing our world. Understanding what makes us all different is what unites and empowers educators, and this gives teachers the ability to deepen lessons and have more meaningful interactions with students and families. Mentoring of historically underrepresented or underserved groups are crucial to develop the inner attitude of self and identity in our community. The presence of differences that may include race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, ethnicity, nationality, socioeconomic status, language, disability, age, etc. There are many research explained the important elements of fostering respect. In the article, it shows that art teachers play a major role in guiding students through creative processes that they can embrace and use throughout their lives. And we need to keep it student-centered learning opportunities in the field. When I teach my Master of Education students in art education, I encourage them to share their individual voice regarding the topic of the sharing our ideas in our society. For example, Alex Boles created this project as the thesis project, creating safe and affirming spaces for LGBTQ youth. The graduate students taught more than 10 years in a high school in Howard County in Maryland. And also the teacher created the resource for teacher resource. And it has the table of contents like the terminology and how to create an inclusive classroom with understanding of the LGBTQ plus language and behavior in classroom setting to make safe space. And the teacher shared this one in the county and state as a teacher resource. And also there are more research by McDonald and how the power, it's about the power of vulnerability and how to increase empathy and how we create community more safe space and how to share their individual voice in our community. And also this also shared that how to teach with art that shared stories. That's the meaningful to share our individual voices in the community. And also this article created by researcher Bastos and Reese. The title is "Who is American Today?" It shows some methods of digital storytelling to make some critical digital making strategies with individual voice and in our community. And also when I teach my students, I share this, inspiring artist work. Byron Kim. Byron Kim create diverse skin colors on canvases, and he showed this one as a metaphorical connections with our community, and there are so many diverse spectrum of skin color, and we can't separate it as white or brown or black or other skin colors. And also in classroom settings, kids can test diverse skin colors to understand we don't have specific color on skin. We have very different shades and diverse spectrum of colorful aspects on our skin, and we don't separate each other. Here's the Byron Kim's documentary film. It's about Princeton University Art Museum has commissioned the artist to create some grid of portraits related to his ongoing painting project.
Part of this project is getting to know the person and meeting all the people who've been the subjects of this project has been a great joy in my life, actually. I'm creating part of a series that I began in 1990 called Synecdoche. It's oil paintings that are a result of my close observation of people's skin color. So in a way, I think of them as small portraits.
For me personally, I found it to be very intriguing because he probably mixed, I want to say, about 20 to 30 colors for my skin tone. And I don't know, I think it says something about how complex we are as people.
The process is just like starting from the beginning each time. I don't want to get into any habits of looking at somebody's skin color and deciding beforehand that I know how to mix the color.
I think it's really important for this kind of artwork to be commissioned in the art museum because it represents kind of a snapshot of the diversity of the student body on campus.
Meeting the Princeton students has been really fun because each one of them is passionate about something, and so there have been many really interesting conversations.
The experience was really surreal to kind of talk about art while he was creating his own, and I learned a lot just from this conversation we had about paint and how painting is more than just putting colors on a canvas or putting paint on a brush.
It's often surprising what people get from this work because it's something that no matter who these people are in the future or now, it's something that they can relate to.
And based on this idea, there are so many ways to incorporate the perspective in art classroom settings. And for the understanding of social inclusion, and students can study diverse colors from nature, like these plant dyes. They can collect diverse leaves or fruit or some stem or bark, or blueberry skin, or leaves and grass. There are a lot of things can use to make some colorful aspects on the worksheet. And here are some examples how they gathered it. And also they can also adopt this idea to create some digital version with the understanding of the color of the pixels to make the trees or some objects on the digital program. And based on this understanding, I also direct Baltimore community-based sister city project. It's, the Baltimore and Changwon City in South Korea, they are sister city, and I create art workshops for Baltimore kids and also Changwon City kids. As you see on the screen, there are Zoom meetings with Korean people in Baltimore Community Center, and we created art project and we communicate each other, and we created Instagram page, and we shared our work and artwork and shared ideas together. And also, as you see here, we received Korean student artwork, and also Baltimore kids sent their mails to Korean students. And because, when I met Baltimore kids and they, never had some Korean students, to expand their perspective in global society. And also they have some stereotypical, perspective when they meet Asian people in the community. And based on this experience with diverse communication with others who have different experiences or in different, situations, and it makes them, deeply understand the other, peoples out there. And also Towson University has a long partnership, more than 30 years of partnership with Newsong Academy in Baltimore City. And we invite middle school students from the school to, make some art projects together. Dr. Kay Broadwater created this project about 30 years ago, and I received that project after she retired. And I'm creating the workshop with my college students to create culturally appropriate opportunities for kids to actively engage them while fostering reciprocity and social responsibility. Many of the city school students do not have the opportunity to get the full experiences of an art classroom until they reach ninth grade. Social emotional learning can be a significant part of a student's overall education to incorporate more inclusive pedagogy into classroom settings. For example, Nilsson Academy, they had limited budget to choose music teacher or dance or art teacher, and they couldn't hire art teacher in the school. And we had nature-based art project, and also during Earth Day project with Professor Diane Kuthi at Towson University as well. And college students created some each workshop based on the big plan and big ideas. And also young kids and youth, they create weaving projects with the idea of the big idea. And here's one more example. Our college students encouraged the Baltimore kids to make some, interesting nature-based project. And the community-based project reinforced and stimulated other essential learning for college students, including researching, planning, and applying best practices for effective education, incorporating adaptations in a culturally responsible way. These methods are filled with discovery and connectivity that include opportunities for outdoor education, Earth Day celebrations, in-person and virtual inclusive art workshops for students during uncertain and volatile times. Here are some examples how the young kid created this clay-based project for the nature-based ideas. And I was surprised that this girl never used clay before. Even the clay is the very common material in classroom settings. But, as I mentioned, there are no, full-time art teachers, and even they don't have art classes in the, school. And, and college students also, they were very, motivated by that story, and they created, and actively, supported Baltimore kids throughout the, workshop. Here are some more examples. And also there are another example, and I created this project with Dr. Jennifer Wingrad and Dr. Diane Kuthi at Towson University. And the title is Occupational Therapy and Art Education, Interprofessional Collaboration for Inclusive Remote Learning. Occupational therapy students collaborate with our art students at Towson University to provide strategies to modify family art workshops to include for participation of children, youth with disabilities, and to introduce disability awareness for participants without disabilities. As you see this screen, and this artist graduated our Towson University, and we created workshops based on the concept of supporting the person who have disability, and also we wanted to introduce disability is not a limitation to create art and or any other abilities. And also here are our Towson University art students, art education students, visited some schools. There were some special needs kids, and we supported some art classes in the school. And also this school is in this activity was in Ridge Roxton in Maryland, and our college students learned how to support special needs kids in schools. And here are some examples how to make some repetition of the stamp for the art activity. And also my college students, they learned a lot instead of just reading books or textbook regarding the topic of D&I and or special needs programs. And because we observed how to support them in schools, and also my college students supported and helped special needs kids in the school. And based on this idea, and we created our online virtual workshop, and we created videos together, and also based on occupational therapy students' feedback, and we adopted some ideas to create art activities through and the workshops. And we published these videos of Towson University Vimeo website. And Jenny was one of our art education students, and she mentioned that the input from OT students, occupational therapy students, was like having something familiar translated into a new and exciting language, demonstrating how to view accessibility as a process of opening doors to students of all abilities. It was a great opportunity to incorporate adaptations with accessible technology. And also based on this idea, we shared our discussion based on this rubric. And this rubric is not only checking the techniques or outcomes. We wanted to check how we used our time wisely, and how we solved problems, and how we worked with collaborative ideas and projects. And also they were pride in their work, and which project did you do, or what was your best contribution, what was the most challenging part of the assignment, what are you most proud of, what would you do differently if you do changes. And here are some ideas still I'm pondering. Social emotional learning can be a significant part of a student's overall education to incorporate more inclusive pedagogy into classroom settings. How we can share what kinds of ways to implement social emotional learning in arts and art history classes. When I teach my students, I share Judith Scott. She was born with the symptom of Down syndrome, but she was an amazing artist. And here's the documentary film. And it shows how she created self-taught fiber project with yarns or cables or recycling materials for 35 years. And there are some video clips I show my students. There are some incredible contemporary art projects by Jody Scott. As you see here, the artwork is very beautiful and also unique. And also this video discuss there's no limitation of the disability to create art. And it was a great conversation and discussion for my students to discuss ability versus disability. all we have ability and disability in different, situations. And also we don't limit, someone's disability to do something. There's the value of sharing Judy Scott's works in classroom settings. And there's a quote: art acts as a catalyst for possibility when it organizes chaos, controls tension, and masters material technique. But the particular circumstances of this late American sculpture raises the question of artistic vision and leads to rethinking the significance of disability. Here are more works based on fiber and found objects. And more work here. And it has very beautiful organic shapes and colorful sculpture, and somewhat abstract or figurative. Also, the wrapping with cables or yarns and threads, it's very meditative way of creating art. And also it has the benefits of mindfulness. And that's one of the reason why special needs kids, they practice this repetition in the institution. Here's the pumpkin shape. And also here are some found objects project for the sculpture. And here's the display for the exhibition in the museum. And also I created this project about 10 years ago in South Korea at the Seoul City Municipal Mental Hospital. And we used huge canvas to make some collaborative painting project for patients with psychiatric disability. So the concept was Mindscape project that was twofold in the sense that it enabled the mentally handicapped to create new and varying forms of self-expression while at the same time allowing for our map of understanding for the greater public. We created our self-portrait on the mural canvas because we used canvas to show the artwork in galleries and museums. And here's the individual self-portrait on the collaborative project. As you see here, there are diverse expression on the canvas. They really enjoyed the activity and they wait my class every week. And it was very interesting, and we are very honored to show our work in a very prestigious museum in Korea. As you see here, we displayed our collaborative painting in the museum. Because many patients were marginalized in the society. And here are more examples of a collaborative project. This size was 48 inch by 60 inch. And also we used acrylic on canvas. And here's a car and driving to travel outside. Throughout this project, they shared their own stories and also their limitation in society. And I was very glad to show their stories and expression in public, like galleries and museums. I hope you received some inspiration or some ideas for your class or your research. And if you have any question regarding the topic of D&I workshop with art activities, please email me and I would love to communicate with you. Thank you so much.